Experts say, in this country, violence happens every 15 seconds. According to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, on average, 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. 1 in 5 women and 1 in 7 men have been victims of severe physical violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. At the end of a 23-year marriage, Betty fell in love with a man she had known her entire life. At 11 years his senior, she knew him from the day he was born. This was because their families knew each other. It was soon after they started dating that the verbal abuse began. This would turn out to be the start of a tumultuous, abusive 7-year relationship. Betty, thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start in the beginning. What are your fondest memories of your childhood?
My mother was awesome, but my mom was a domestic violence victim too. My dad was verbally abusive to her.
So you were married for 23 years before with your first husband?
We were together for 23 years. We were married 16.
Oh, nice. Was he abusive?
Never. We just grew apart.
So your ex-husband now, your second husband, you had known him your entire life. I mean, you know him his entire life. Mm-hmm. You were 11 years his senior. How did you reconnect after the end of your first marriage?
Even when my first husband and me were married, I would come home every 6 months to visit family, and I'd spend time with him and his brother, and they've always been like family. I actually looked at them like brothers back then, nothing ever attraction. So when I moved back down here after I left my first husband, I went back out to see how they were and everything, and one thing led to another. I never expected in a million years that I would have a relationship with him.
And what was it this time that attracted you to him?
He was very caring, giving, he had a great heart, and I think it's too, I was vulnerable. I had just, I was in that depression of leaving my husband, a very comfort zone, and I guess it just sucked me right in.
Once you started dating, how was the relationship in the beginning?
Actually, the relationship was abusive after the first month. It was verbal abuse, of course, controlling, jealousy over every little, person that I would talk to. I mean, for right into the second month that I started dating him.
Looking back, when you were in it, you had no idea he had already started grooming you, for lack of a better description.
Right. I didn't even know what domestic violence was until 2 years ago. I always thought if you're getting hit, that's abuse. I didn't understand control issues and jealousy, and I didn't realize all the statistics of domestic violence until I was an actual victim and stepped out of it and full blown.
So with the jealousy, did you confuse jealousy for maybe he just likes you so much and wants you around all the time, or he just can't live without you? And so
yes, and also control. He would tell me the past girlfriends had cheated on him, so he had issues of trust issues. So I took that in consideration, and honestly, it wasn't them, it was him.
Right. I mean, he was bringing his pattern to all the relationships,
right.
Basically.
I can't believe how I really thought that it was always me.
Right.
I still can't believe that I believed that for so long.
Because it makes you think it's you.
Yeah.
It makes you think it's you, that the problem is with you.
Yeah.
If somebody put an ad on a dating site, a dating app, a dating site, and said, "I like to drink, dance, and beat the crap out of you," they wouldn't get anybody who would respond to that ad.
No.
So what are the baby steps that you think that he took to kind of groom you and get you ready for? It's a grooming. It's a preparation process.
It really is. He knew me, and he had already known how to manipulate me. He's very good at it.
You said your father was verbally abusive.
Yes.
Did you date other men? Other than your first husband, did you date other men who were abusive, verbally or physically?
When I was 13 years old, there was a boy that lived 2 doors down from me. He was like my sweetheart boyfriend, when I was 14 years old. And he had hit me once, almost busted my collarbone. We were on a church retreat.
At 13?
At 13.
At a church retreat?
Yes. He was verbally abusive, but, you don't know back then. You think it's normal. That's what my dad was doing to my mom, so I thought it was normal, but my dad saw him hit me again, and that was it. My dad, basically told him.
Nipped it in the bud.
Yeah.
How long did the violence last with your ex-husband?
I was a victim for 7 years.
7 years. Was it Not that any is lighter than the other. Was it all just verbal abuse,
No.
or was it physical as well?
He hit me 5 times in 7 years.
And did you call the police every time he hit you, or
No.
what happened?
No, I think I had only called the police one time, and then the last time that I left, I called the police.
Let me ask you. He's verbally abusing you. You don't realize at the time it's verbal abuse.
Right.
But when he hits you, the first time he hits you, I mean, that's clear. He's hit you. He's abusing you. Why did you not leave the first time he hit you?
You're afraid. You're afraid to leave. You say you're going to leave. The verbal abuse gets worse. He gets angrier. I had nowhere to go. Yeah, I have family, but I don't know. It's hard to explain unless you've been in that situation why
Right.
you stay. And I had 2 step-kids, and I thought that I was supposed to be there to be their mom. I was their mom for 7 years. I didn't want to leave those 2. And then after we had been together for 2 or 3 years, I got pregnant with my son. So I stayed because of my kids. I didn't want to be a statistic of divorce. I didn't want my kids to, my child to be without a father.
It seems everybody stays for their children. Most people stay because they kill the children. And which now, looking back, if you think about it, does that do the child any good for staying in an abusive relationship?
No, it doesn't. I always thought that he would change, but I love my son more. So one day when he had hit me for the last time, it just dawned on me. My son was in the back of the car, or back of the truck, and he saw him hit me at 2.5 years old. And it just dawned, like a light bulb went off, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this to your child? He's gonna grow up thinking that it's normal for a woman to be treated like this, and he's gonna end up treating women like this.
Absolutely.
I don't want him to be like that.
Because experts say that you are who you are, and you formed who you are by the time you're 6 years old. So if your son's watching abuse at 2.5 years old, or even younger, and going through to 6, 7, 8 years old and watching abuse, and he's being formed into that, then he's learning that it's okay.
That it's normal.
That it's normal. That's how it's supposed to be. If you have abuse in front of a child, it changes the trajectory of that child's life forever.
Oh, it does.
And the damage to the kids is not physical. It's
No.
emotional, which is even worse.
Right.
Were you able to reach out to your family, or who were you able to speak to that was able to listen to you?
I talked to my mother constantly, what went on every single day. My brothers knew what was going on, but people can tell you that you need to leave or whatever. It's in your time that you want to leave.
How many times did you try to leave?
I actually left one time. I ended up going back after 4 months. He had gotten charged with domestic violence. And while he was going through the trial thing, I had moved out, and he was still trying to manipulate me.
What was the last thing that happened that just made you think, this is it?
He actually disappeared on us for 14 days, went to Mexico, never called us, never checked on us. We actually had a hurricane come through that week that we had to prepare for. When he came back, he was in a different emotional mind, like not himself still. He was still very angry. That is the week after that, he actually raped me. And 2 days after that, he ended up hitting me in the truck in front of my son.
So did you leave with, obviously that's your son, you can pick up your son and leave. What did you do with the stepchildren? Did you leave with them as well?
I couldn't leave with them. They weren't my biological children.
Right, and it'll be kidnapping.
It was really hard for me to leave them. So I called the state and I asked them if, give me some organizations that help abused women. The first one was Women in Distress. And the reason why I picked SOMI, I just picked her, the 5 names that they gave me, and I looked at them and I said, no more tears. I said, because I have cried for 7 years, I'm so tired of crying. That's the one I'm gonna call.
And for those who don't know what the organization will do, if you call, they'll help you get out. They'll give you shelter.
Right
they'll
away.
Give you food right away. They'll help your children and you with counseling if need be. If they have to try and get you a job, they'll help you get a job. They get you situated and get you moving. And so all the fears that are holding you back and crippling you, they're able to help you get on your feet, which is...
Yes, No More Tears will take you out of the situation right away. She's had people from out of state call her where she has bought a bus ticket right away, and they're there in days. She puts you in a hotel to make sure that you're safe. will help you fill a restraining order out, go with you to make sure that you're protected from your abuser, you and your child, or even just you by yourself. She will help you with your rent, your water, electric, your car payment, your insurance. If you want to go to school, if you don't know how to speak English, she will get you classes as far as reading English, anything possible to make you self-sufficient, to be able to provide for yourself, that you don't rely on your abuser. She wants you to get out of the abusive situation, especially if you have children.
What do you find the number of reasons that people stay? Not you per se, but what do you find are the reasons?
A majority
that
of victims stay because they have nowhere to go. They have no money, no finances. They don't have a job. They're very insecure about themselves.
Because they believe what they've been told.
Yes, and they feel that it's all about, it's all their fault. A lot of them think that they can't raise their children on their own. So they feel that they need to stay because of the financial support that the abuser is giving.
Is there also do you find there's a huge level of shame involved?
Yes, definitely. They're very ashamed.
Broken down.
Mm-hmm. And that they've allowed this to happen.
How about fear? Because fear can be really incapacitating. You can't do anything if you're afraid, but do you find fear to be a big part of it as well?
A very big part of it. A very big part.
Do you find that maybe you may have allowed him to get away with a lot more than you should have in the beginning?
You can't help who your heart loves. It's crazy. I was so in love with him. I loved my first husband, but I was majorly in love with my second husband. He was, I don't know.
But the moment you changed the way you allow him to treat you, everything changed. Which means the moment you said, no more of this, it doesn't matter how in love you are with him, how much everything's going on. The moment you say, this is it, I will not take this. It doesn't matter, and that could be subtle things. But the moment we teach people how to treat us.
Right.
And the moment you say, I will allow this and I won't allow this, you change the terms of that agreement, of that friendship. And so I think a lot of times people allow people in the beginning to, and it happens even with friends, it happens even in the office, it happens everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, do you find that because of the way society has made us feel like failure is no option, that keeps people entrapped in these relationships?
Yeah, because nobody wants to fail, especially as a mother.
Right.
In a lot of, there are women that will not speak up because they don't want to look like the bad person. I left my child in this situation. How could I be such a horrible mother that I would allow this in front of my child?
What would you say is your mission in life today?
My mission in life right now, I am still fighting to protect my son. I know for a fact that it's going to work out in my son's favor to protect him. I am an advocate now for domestic violence. I am an advocate for the Champion for Children that are in Sebring. But my goal is to help other women and children that have been in my situation.
Now, are you working with No More Tears, or do you have your own?
I volunteer for No More Tears as much as possible that I can. I'm 2 hours away.
Okay.
Somi needs me. I'm here. I wanted to do this for her.
You've had an intense life so far. You've had ups and downs. It's been an interesting, rich life. I think it's been a rich life.
Very.
So now you're an advocate. And you're helping all these people. So you've ended up in a place maybe you never even thought.
Well, I really know now that because you look back and you're like, why did I go through? Why God? Why me? I really believe that I went through the 7 years, and why I'm still going through it has made me a stronger person, and so that I can be who I am to help other women and children, to be an advocate.
So here's my last and final question, and I love asking people this song. Through my experience with the show, Keep the Faith has been the song that's kept me through those not so faithful days that I need to get this going. What would you say is your soundtrack through this whole experience?
A Baby Changes Everything by Faith Hill.
Why that song?
Because a baby does change your life. It's a gift from God, and it's a miracle. It's a miracle to bring a life into this world, and it's our job as mothers to protect these children.
Absolutely. And if anybody's abusing you,
they're abusing my child.
Miracle, get out, because you're changing that life, and you may be bringing up an abuser.
That's right. Change it now before it gets too late.
It gets worse. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. I gotta give you a hug now.
Thank you.
If you are in an abusive relationship, speak up. There are trained people willing and ready to help you 24 hours a day. nmtproject.org. I hope Betty's story shows you that there can be light at the end of a very dark tunnel. The phone call you make today may just save your life. Until next time, thank you for watching You Talk on YouTube.